This is the Washington Times front page for Friday, September 9th, 2022. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. Queen Elizabeth II, the longest-serving monarch in the history of the United Kingdom, died Thursday afternoon at her summer residence, Balmoral Castle, in Scotland. Mark Kellner reports her son Charles has succeeded her and will be known as King Charles III. His wife Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, has become Queen Consort, something the Queen had publicly requested. Elizabeth became queen in February 1952 after the death of her father, King George VI. She has reigned longer than any other monarch in British history and celebrated her 70-year Platinum Jubilee earlier this year. She was one of the world's best-known figures, famed for her dignified reserve, her taste in handbags and hats, and her affection for generations of Welsh corgis who accompanied her during her reign. President Joe Biden said the Queen was a stateswoman of unmatched dignity and constancy who deepened the bedrock alliance between the UK and US. Her reign covered the tenures of 14 U.S. presidents. Queen Elizabeth II was 96 years old. The Biden administration has announced a fresh $675 million military aid package for Ukraine and pledged to make another $1 billion available in American-made weapons. Ben Wolfgang reports it's the strongest signal yet that Washington is broadening its focus beyond the battle with Russia and aiming to bolster the Ukrainian army for the long term. The aid includes ammunition for high-mobility artillery rocket systems, 4 105mm howitzers and 36,000 105mm artillery rounds, high-speed anti-radiation missiles, more than 5,000 anti-armor systems, 50 armored medical treatment vehicles, and a host of other military arms and equipment. Along with other American gear such as the Javelin anti-tank missile, which has proved highly effective in neutralizing Russia's armored advantage, the package will replenish the Ukrainian armed forces at a critical moment in the fight. U.S. officials made clear they're looking far beyond Ukraine's current counteroffensive and are aiming to reshape the balance of power in the region for years to come. The chief goal, they said, is to dissuade any future Russian aggression against Ukraine or any other nation in the theater, including NATO states bordering Russia that are thought to be at the greatest risk of attack. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser has declared a public emergency over the surge of illegal immigrants arriving in Washington, calling it a crisis that is certainly not of our making. Matt Delaney and Stephen Dinan report the mayor is tapping millions of dollars to aid in housing the migrants and said she'll seek reimbursement from the federal government for the money. She blamed the Biden administration and border state governors for the situation. She said the money will go to creating an emergency office to receive the migrants as they arrive and help connect them with services. Bowser said she was responding to some 9,400 migrants that Arizona and Texas have bussed into the District of Columbia since April. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find our entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. The long-simmering debate over giving convicted criminals early releases from prison has emerged in this year's U.S. Senate races as voters view rising violent crime as a major problem. Seth MacLachlan reports Nevada Senator Catherine Cortez Masto and Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman have been criticized for serving on their state's pardon boards, which recommend rewarding prisoners for good behavior with reduced prison sentences. Both are the Democratic nominees for Senate in their states. It's part of Republicans' broader strategy to tap voter anxiety over a national crime spike and pin the blame on President Biden and Democrats in Congress, who are defending fragile House and Senate majorities in the midterm elections. And finally, Ramsey Touchberry and Mika Solner look into the tensions between extreme Republicans that the president has deemed threats to democracy and their Democratic colleagues in the Senate. Stumping for Democrats in battleground states, the president has used several recent speeches to lambaste MAGA Republicans who embrace political violence and pose threats to personal and economic freedoms. The tactic puts members of his party, particularly those in tight races, in awkward positions. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in your favorite podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.